Okay, it's all yours.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the February meeting of Chilthorne Parish Council. For everyone's information, there has been no items forwarded to me for inclusion within the open session. So, Mr. Chairman, if you wish, you can go straight into the agenda.
Okay, thank you, Emma. So we'll open with item 1 then. Apologies in absence.
I've received apologies from Mr. Welsh, Mr. Williams, and Mr. Batstone.
Yeah, okay. I haven't seen Mark, so we'll leave it at that. Item 2, declarations of interest.
Looks like a none to me.
Okay. Item 3 then. Meeting minutes of the previous meetings. Anyone have anything on that?
No, it's very good, Emma. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Item 4. County Councillor's report then.
I'm assuming that you all received Josh's report that he sent through.
Yeah.
He has emailed me, actually sent me a message today apologising for being absolutely jam-packed at work and not being able to be here today. He has asked that I pass any questions on to him, and obviously we'll do so.
That's a cue for you to come in, Paul, isn't it?
I'd tell you what, it's a waste of time, isn't it? I mean, Amos, you've been on this parish council for as long as I have, nearly. This has been going on and on for 20 odd years. First off, we started off with Brian Madden. He acquired a substantial amount of money from county to put a pavement from the bottom of Halfway all the way up to the church. The council changed just before it's implemented, and we had half along as a county councillor. He then nicked that money and used it on a roundabout at, oh, where's that place? Oh, Christ now. Master Magna. We kicked up a lot of fuss and they gave us a speed camera. All right, that did slow the stuff, everything down. Sam Crabb came along after him and agreed, yes, it needs doing. We need to extend the speed limit to the other side of Oakley Lane, which would have meant over 600 metres, which would then bring in a 30-mile-an-hour without a problem and no excuse from county trying to wriggle out of doing a job they're supposed to be doing and getting well paid for. What do we get? Nothing. Some pretty little signs. Same thing happens, top of Tintnell, 20-mile limit enforceable, the whole length. And what do we get? A flashing light, which isn't even enforceable. And why do we waste our time? Why are we wasting money? If we can't do the job properly, don't bloody well do it. I just do not see the point of wasting money. All right, got some nice little chevrons down here. Or it replaces the ones the cars damaged when you rammed into them. But that ain't going to save nobody's lives. But anyway, I could keep on going, but I'll just wind myself up and I just think it's a joke. And we'll have another county councillor and he'll start saying, oh, I'll do this and that. And we'll still get nothing done. Unless we get a good body count, then maybe they get off their ass and do something. Better shut up, I think.
Okay. Anyone else has any other comments on that? Nope.
I think. Sorry. The only thing I can see, Paul and Kevin, is that while we're in the middle of COVID, the ability to influence what's happening is even more limited than usual. Once we get out of it, is it worth us going and talking directly to highways, and actually get a group together to discuss it, rather than us keeping batting memos around and emails? Because at the moment, all I can see is, and I've only come in at the very tail end of all the bit that you're describing. All I'm seeing is letters being passed rather than actually having a discussion to see what it would take to get the things moving.
My response at that point, Tim, would be that I know that county are continuing to have meetings just in a virtual format, so COVID shouldn't stop that meeting from happening. If you wish to go that route, we could obviously explore it, and I will do what I can to get it to happen.
Yeah, I think my concern, Emma, is that virtual meetings are not the easiest way to get difficult things moved. Talking to people in the face is usually considerably more effective.
I would totally agree. I just wanted to put it out there. That was all.
Yeah, thanks, Emma. Well, I've said it many a time. I just can't believe that every village and road around here can get speed reductions. They can get traffic calming. They can get humps in the road. They can get anything they want, but Chilthorne Domer gets absolutely nothing. It sets speeding motorists every day of the week on both roads. This is not just this one. So I don't know where we go on it. So perhaps we can, I don't know, maybe in the future get something looked at harder. But like Paul says, it'll only get us all wound up in a minute. So I think if that's the end of that one, we'll move on to item 5. District Councillor's report.
Paul, do you want to go first?
Yes, I attended the meeting on these, what do they call it, nitrate, is it?
Yeah,
Costing.
members
Right.
briefing. Members
Yeah.
briefing.
And that's really causing a problem, and it's not going to be easy to solve. Basically, they're trying to buy up land, well, not buy up land in the literal sense of buying it, setting aside farmland that won't be used for anything, just to build a house. Wessex Water seems to do their own thing, not interested in helping, and it stopped all planning. Our poor chap, Mr. Warren, hasn't heard anything back. He hasn't even got his 106 agreement back from his planning application because it was held up so long. He's now stuck. He's not the only one. There's loads and loads in this situation, and the building situation is going to be chronic. We've now got a 5-year land supply, but we can't build any houses. So you've got the government saying you've got to build more houses. Then you've got somebody somewhere in Europe saying, oh, you can't do that. And then National England's taking it on and said, no, you can't build no houses now, not on the levels. I just don't understand where we're going to go from it, apart from we're going to have a chronic shortage of houses. I don't know, Tony, if you've heard any more about that one.
No, Paul, but I'll tell you what I can do, give you an update. First of all, Charlie Hall, I think I've asked him to send that members briefing to all the parishes. So I'm hoping that Emma's had that as well.
I have, yeah, just haven't had a chance to send it on yet. Apologies, folks. I'll do that this evening.
Emma, that's fine, because it's a hell of a lot of thing in there. You can't really get your head around it unless you know what you're doing. Anyway, on the upside of it, Tony Camden, that used to be a district councillor from Somerton, he's actually tackled Wessex Water, and they admit that they ought to put the problem right, but they haven't got no money at the moment. And he sent a letter to me, or sent me an email, a letter that the Wessex Water sent to him, saying they accept liability on it. And what I'm going to try and do is pass this on to us members or somebody else higher up in the chain, so they can have a look, because you're absolutely right. Wessex Water's got shareholders in this. They're making millions of pounds, and yet they're turning around and saying, well, we can't sort this out. Well, it's their problem. They should sort it out. In a minute, I think a lot of these people have got all these planning applications in and put all the money in for application, could well turn around to the district council and say, look, hang on, it's been going on so long, we want our money back now. And you imagine how many millions of pounds are tied up in this planning process at the moment. There must be millions tied up in there. Paul gets it all the time about people saying what's happening, why can't I have my building, what's it going on. I get it to this end. Well, we get it, all three of us, because we're the ward member for a hell of an area. I think is 12 parishes we represent. So that's where we are on that. It doesn't look like we're going to get any further, but a few things I just want to bring up to the councillors. One is, I expect you've heard in the media about the A303 upgrade, that the government has said, yes, they're going to start it this year sometime. The dual carriageway from Sparkford to Ilchester or Puddymore, that's one of the priorities that's going to be started. Just give you a sort of insight, up an average of 23,500 cars a day go along that stretch of road between Puddymore roundabout and Sparkford. That's obviously before we had this coronavirus. So like I say, Highways England want to try and start that later. Talking about problems that you've got or we've got in our area to do with highways, it's all over the district, not just there, Paul. I know it's difficult, but who knows what's going to happen in the future? If there's one Somerset, stronger Somerset, perhaps there'll be enough money that we can do these projects ourselves. We won't have to rely on county council. And unfortunately, no disrespect to Emma, because she works hard on that, because she has worked for that company. But we might well have some money and do these jobs ourselves. Who knows what the future is? And the other thing is that British Rail are looking, open up the stations again. Train stations that obviously been closed for years. And Mike Lewis, who's the board member for Camelot, which is Sparkford, keeps on about, hopefully, somewhere along the line, that the train station at Sparkford could be reinstated and used. Now, I think if that's the case, they should open more stations. We might well leave the car at home and get on the train like we used to. But apart from that, Chairman, nothing else to report. I'm sorry to say it's all gloom and gloom at the moment, but who knows what's going to happen.
Thanks, Tony. Well, they won't be opening one station, will they, Martock and out through there, because they built the 3088 on that one, didn't they?
Yeah.
So that one
They're thinking of opening another one towards Swindon somewhere, I think it is. They're looking at one that was closed years ago. The station's still there, all overgrown. The track's still there. I think they're looking at things that the track's still there and the station's still there, not ones that have been took away.
Yeah. Can I sort of quick question following up, Tony? The one thing that strikes me is that work on the 303 has the potential to chuck some extra traffic down to 37 as the work progresses. I think we ought to ask that question formally of what the plans, what impact it's likely to have, and potentially, Paul, see if that, if an increase in traffic on the 37 for the next, however long it's going to take to do that, which is going to be years, has been taken into account.
A good point. I think the only way to find that out is to send an email to Highways England and find out what's happening, because I haven't got a clue, to be honest with you. And when you're saying that, you're absolutely right. Even the Mudford Parish Council got their doubts about, well, not doubts, they're worried about all the traffic coming through from Sparkford all the way through, say, Shortcut, Mudford, and then maybe through all the villages. Who knows?
Well, that's where they will go, Tony, straight through there, won't they, Marston Magna and all the way through.
So, Chairman, I recommend that probably from the Parish Council that you send an email to Highways England, whoever that is, and find out what route they're going to put in place to relieve the traffic problem while this is being done. Also, just an idea, maybe all the parishes should work together that's been affected with this. That might be a stronger case. I don't know.
Yeah, I have to ask Emma if she would put a letter together. And
I've written it down.
thanks, Emma.
Hold on, Emma.
And can you also ask British Rail if they would pick me up at 4 o'clock in the morning, please, to take me to my truck? Because I'm sure they will oblige, won't they?
No, I'll do that for you. No problem.
You'll do that, will you? Okay, and ask them if they can do it, the ticket cheaper than running a car then, please, because how can you justify train costs at what they are for running people around when it's cheaper to get in a car and do it?
That is a problem, Chairman. That is a problem. If the cost came down, I think more people would use the train, and that goes for public service as well, mind the buses and things like that.
Yeah.
We are in a predicament. It's so dear, and really it should be subsidised more from different councils, that it's going to be cheap enough that you do leave the car at home, and more
Yeah.
people would use.
I think
Yeah,
that
so-
the terrible thing about it is that, you know, we have no real reliable service from Yeovil to Bristol at all. And it costs 4-5 times the amount of money it costs to drive a car there.
Yep.
You know, until that changes, until we get a more decent direct service of Yeovil, that's not going to be improved at all.
Well, I'm going to hop on the underground in the morning.
Don't blame you. Chairman, can I just tell you that was an issue quite a while ago where this woman got a job. She works at Ilminster. Now, to
Right.
get to Ilminster on the bus, she had to get the bus from here to Taunton, from Taunton, then to Ilminster. And she had to leave early in the morning to get to her work by 8 o'clock. Now, that's never on. There should be something put in place for that.
Well, what can you say or do about it? You know, it's all comes with privatisation and cuts everywhere. Same as the Environment Agency, isn't it? Take the money, but don't put it into the rivers.
All from me, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Tony. Okay, so we move on to item 6 then, highway matters.
Yeah, just a couple of sub items here. The vehicle activated sign, which is the VAS sign. That's the new replacement one for the 20 wigwag effectively, and for the 30 at all other times. I did send an email out that had come to me from Highways asking for opinions on timings. Adam, I know that you came back to me. I haven't actioned anything further on your second or third comment. I would basically, was waiting until this meeting until I got a more global opinion.
No, that's fine. Obviously, I live directly opposite the school, so I'm better. Whilst everyone has an appreciation for the timings there, all I can tell you now is a half an hour window is absolutely not suitable for the school, especially as they're doing dual intakes, both in the morning and the afternoon. So having a half an hour window just is not going to be not possible, and we need to really push back on the supplier, installers, etc., to make sure that we're not restricted to just half an hour either side, because that's not going to be safe for the children.
Is there a maximum you can have?
I've been led to believe it is the half an hour, but obviously that's what we're pushing back against.
Okay, well, Marston Magna got one 24 hours a day, not even got a school in it.
It's probably a different type of sign, if I'm honest. This particular sign that we're getting is a relatively new one to the market. I will ask the question, certainly, and see what the response comes back
I would
is.
imagine their default,
please.
their default configuration is going to be a half an hour window based on standard practice, but I'd like to think they can tweak that, especially, so like I said, during these COVID operations where we're just not seeing half an hour windows being adhered to anymore.
Can we have as long as possible? That would be the best answer.
Is it the council that says how long it has to be, or is it the provider of the signs?
There will obviously, well, I say obviously, to the best of my knowledge, there is a limit on what the sign can do because it's solar powered, that particular aspect. This is to the best of what I understood from the conversation that I had originally. Again, I'm more than happy to go back and ask the questions. But there is a limit due to the power storage from the solar panels. And that's why the county have come to us asking us, are these times suitable? Adam, what I would ask, generally speaking, non-COVID times, would the half an hour window be suitable? Okay, thank you. Just I wanted to clarify whether even outside of COVID it would be okay or not.
So 2019, isn't it? That was before COVID, right? In 2019, there is a window, but it's because you get a lot of cards arriving early before the kids are kicked out as well. If there are any children that walk out early or are coming out, because of the amount of traffic in that area, and we saw it with obviously the police doing spot checks on people parking, and it happens about half an hour, 50 minutes to half an hour before school kick out, and then obviously it happens afterwards. But also, I mean, my knowledge of these signs is obviously very, very limited, and I know with cattle crossings, you get somebody, the farmer will have a switch wheel switch when he's having cattle crossing a road, etc. I'm really surprised that the school don't essentially have the ability to turn this on manually and then obviously turn it off when it's finished. Because if, for example, we've got a school show going on, well, that's another example of where you're going to have the signs operable. So if the county, if the district county council had installed a sign which has that limitation, I would probably go back and say, I'm sorry, that's not suitable for us. And we have requirements to be able to have it operating more than twice a day and for more than half an hour window. If the sign can do it, I mean, they're only LED signs, so I'd be really surprised as to why you're only getting an hour a day out of them. But I appreciate, we can't have the questions answered on this call, but I think we really do need to go back with some more detailed requirements and actually question the art of the possible. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
That's fine. Adam, could I ask that maybe you and I, either via email exchange or telephone call or something, come up with those questions that I need to ask?
Yeah, that's fine. I'm happy to
And if anybody else wants to join in, then they can do. Just so that again, my technical knowledge on VAS signs is somewhat limited, and I'm not even really sure necessarily which questions I need to be asking, if I'm honest.
Yeah, that's fine.
So happy to take a steer, basically.
Would an hour a day, twice a day, cover the situation at the moment?
I think it would cover the times that we can forecast, Hamish. But like I said, there are, when the schools have events running in the evening or outside of those scheduled times, if there's no ability to activate the sign, then we're essentially leaving ourselves wide open, or the schools, leaving their safety wide open, because, like I said, there were events last year, when they were having school shows, etc., and you get a phenomenal amount of cars at 6:30, 7:15 at night, rocking up, and kids pouring out the school. So it kind of defeats the object of that sign being there.
Okay.
So we have to try and get the timing lengthened and to get it to be controlled.
That's the feeling that I'm getting as well, Hamish.
Okay.
One last point on that. Sorry to interrupt whoever it was I interrupted. I know that Highways also sent that email to the school asking them as well. So hopefully the school will come back with something fairly similar.
If we did what everybody else does and have a proper 20-mile limit, we would waste our time on this. Titnall's only a mile up the road. They got 20-mile limit all the way down through the main street. So why can't we have 20 mile an hour? Somebody got something against Chilthorne?
Unfortunately, on Main Street in Chilthorne Damer, we still get Pratts that drive through the village at speed in both cars and on motorbikes as well. So without having that sign to at least highlight the fact that there's an operation going on at the school, I think we're going to not see it. It's not going to be long until we have an accident with a child outside the school on Main Street.
No, but it still should be a 20-mile limit, enforceable.
Not disagreeing, but there's battles that for the future and battles now.
Okay.
Okay, we all done with that one? I asked Emma to put the SID on there, because obviously we're getting nowhere with figures and numbers and things. So I wonder if it'd be feasible to get our own SID device, and then we could start hammering home some of the figures to them.
One of the things I raised, Mr. Chairman, in support of that was at the meeting. I think it was 3 or 4 meetings ago when we were discussing the current SID or it was just an activation device rather than a logging device. We have no ability at the moment. We should be reporting to the village during these meetings the average speed seen through the village, and having the statistics to be able to support these cases, because we have so many times we've gone to the council, and if the police are going to support any enforcement or changing of speed limits, if we have no data, we have absolutely no leg to stand on.
That's what I was on about, buying our own SID camera, SID device to start monitoring, start getting data, start getting statistics, so as we can start hammering it home.
Well, yeah, about a week before the work started, we had something measuring on the on Tinternall Road, because they had a couple of the double wires across the road up towards Vag Lane.
Slowest part of the road, mate.
Yeah, it's not surprising.
Slowest part. Tony's trying to say something a minute.
Yeah, sorry, Chairman. If there's any help, Ilchester have bought their own SID. It's a smiley face one. If you're obviously going over the speed limit, you don't get a smiley face, but it records all the data, the speed going through. Now, what they've done, they've got an agreement with Yeovilton Parish Council that they can put it up the stretch of road between Ilchester and the base where they go speeding. Now, it's only a thought, but maybe if you wanted to borrow it or hire it or do something or buy your own like they've done, Philip Hortington, who's a clerk, he knows all the prices for it. He knows what they've done and how much it costs and one thing and another. So I would suggest that's the way to go forward for now. If you think you've got a precept coming up for that, you could, well, find out how much it costs, what it entails, fitting it, and then use it.
Thank you, Tina. That kind of leads quite nicely onto part of the conversation that you and I had, Kevin, on the telephone, with regard to potentially going in with another parish, because it can only stay up in a certain place for a certain amount of time. So what Chilthorne don't want is for it to be sat in somebody's garage for the time that it can't be up somewhere, because it's an expensive piece of kit to be doing that.
No, it won't be, will it? It'll be up halfway this week, next week, halfway the week after.
It can't do that, Paul.
Why not?
The
police time limit.
There is a time limit and a time within which it cannot go back.
Oh, I didn't know that bit. Sorry.
And I think that's a police thing as opposed to a county highways thing. I'm not 100% certain, but I know that there is a certain amount of time for which it can stay in one place, and then another amount of time for which it can't come back to that place.
Well, Montacute are interested in it.
Are they?
Yep.
Okay, so it might be worth maybe looking at sharing one with Montacute if Ilchester don't want to share one, don't want to let us kind of effectively buy into theirs. But I'm more than happy to kind of start putting some feelers out to see if there are parishes around that would either already have one that might lend us theirs occasionally when theirs is sat potentially in somebody's garage not being used, or if Montacute are looking at potentially going in with somebody to buy one to share, then that might make sense as well.
Yeah,
I think once we have an idea on the limitations in terms of the time, we can then work out that. But what we need to also be quite clear about is the data sharing agreement that we have between them as well, because obviously if they are logging into their device to get the data off it, as that moves, we then want to be able to access that information as well. So we need to make sure we're quite clear in terms of the wanting to share that information, and obviously how that's managed. Otherwise, it kind of defeats the object, really.
Can I, Kevin? Can I just come in on that, because it's something that struck me. The NIS ward is three ward members represent about 11 to 12 parishes. Now, Kenton Manorville in the process of buying their own SID camera, the speed camera, not speed camera, speed indicator, and therefore they would like to put it around. It would have been nice, I think, if all the parishes got together and say, look, let's buy 3 of them between us, or 4, or whatever it's got to be, all chip in the pot, do a deal and get a good discount for having a certain amount of them, and then share it between the whole parish, the whole ward, I would say.
Yeah, that would have been an excellent idea.
I take it from the conversation so far that I'm talking to Philip to try and find out the limitations and whether or not Ilchester want to share.
Talk to Philip and talk to Montague.
And talk to
Would be a good
Montague.
start, please, Emma.
Okay.
Or maybe all of them. Both of them.
That's what I'll do.
I think, first of all, otherwise it might get out of hand. There's only a suggestion. I think Montacute was good. Have a word with them, but just give you an insight how they went forward. Ilchester will give you all the advice you want.
Thanks, Tony.
Thanks, Tony.
Okay, so we'll move on to item 7 and community safety and police matters.
I've had a report.
A report.
Yeah. Oh Lord, what's his name? PCSO. Oh, I'd like to give him public credit for actually sending a report through. What was his name? What was his name? PCSO. I want to say Tim Russell, but I might be wrong. Yes, Timothy Russell. So thank you very much, PCSO Timothy Russell. We have had a report covering January and February 2021, which is probably the most up-to-date report from the police that we've had in several years. There has been one crime in January, February 2021, and that was a violence against the person. It doesn't say where. He has also provided me with a number of crimes trend graph. Unfortunately, it doesn't actually tell me what the period of time for this graph is. I could only assume months. I don't know. If it is months, last month we had, well, December we had 3, November we had 5, October 1, nothing at all in September, August 2. As I say, I don't know what the timescale is for this graph. So it's a little bit not as helpful as it could be. The current priorities for the area are on rural crime. So there are regular patrols of the area by the neighbourhood team and response officers. And that is ongoing as a future priority for the team as well. And there are opportunist thieves still touring the area looking for unlocked or poorly secured sheds and garages. They want power tools, chainsaws, mowers and similar items. There is an ongoing spate of van brakes at the moment targeting workmen's tools. And that concludes the report.
Okay. Well, community safety. I still see the cone outside the Rectory Cottage was probably 4 foot out in the road the other night when I come home.
I think that was covered in Josh's email, wasn't it, in his report? That
Yeah,
highways aren't dealing with it, but are having to wait until the new financial year.
Yeah, highways might be dealing with it, but he's still putting it out in the road. And the other night I come round the corner and I had to slam the brakes on to actually stop because there was vehicles coming the opposite way. It was actually right out in the road.
I noticed that highways weren't going to do anything about it till the next financial year.
Yeah, so we're going to have to suffer that then, are we?
I will pass it back.
Can't we report it to the police as a hazard on the road?
Well, wouldn't he be liable if there was an accident?
I would have thought so. And the police would be as well, once they've been told. I mean, it could be 6 months, 9 months before highways get off their ass.
I don't know. It was very dangerous again the other night. And there are people, like I said, come around the corner. And I know they shouldn't be speeding, but quite a few are. And then slamming the brakes on when they see the obstruction in the road. And some of them are quite late when they see it.
Unfortunately, that little rat race in that little series of corners, the visibility there is terrible. And so, yeah, it's very easy to come a cropper on that cone. Let's report it. One thing I was going to say as well is, I mean, it's. I mean, I know that police are doing what they can at the moment, but I think I reported about 5 or 6 incidents to 101 last month of people breaking the coronavirus rules as well, having gatherings of 6+ people in gardens, etc. In Chilthorne Doma, it seems to be quite rife actually of people taking the mick, but police aren't coming out and doing anything about it, which is a bit of a shame. Yeah, it seems to be still a problem around Little Salmons and other parts of the village as well. We see it on dog walks, etc.
Okay.
Would Emma be able to reply to this PCSO and thank them for sending it in, and at the same time inform them about this cone?
I'm more than happy to. I just feel that we're setting ourselves up to look a little bit silly if I report it on a day that's a dry day, then it's dry days for 5 days longer.
We should just continue
It
to
probably
report it
is
at 101.
enough of a hazard to do a 999 call when it's there. Would be my response. I'm more than happy to do it, but it probably is enough of a hazard, especially if, as Kevin described, it's significantly further out into the road.
She's brought it back in tonight when I come home, or somebody's knocked it back in with vehicles. So I see now all the reflective tapes missing off it. Now it's just an orange cone in the middle of the road now, not an actual one with reflection on it.
I think if we're able to get some photographs of it when it's actually in place and get it reported to 101, then the more, if we have at least 4 or 5 plus incidents reported on 101, when we do speak to the PCSO, they'll pull those reports off and they'll have a lot more gravitas, I think.
Well, you got to ask your question, how many times the police been up and down here and haven't seen it yet?
Yeah. They probably don't take this road because of all the traffic calming measures in Sentinel.
Is that what it is? Because they're so slow through here.
Would you like me to I'm obviously going to say thank you to the PCSO
Yeah, please,
anyway.
Please put it on there and ask him to go around and have a word with him.
But as I said, I personally would say that if it's significantly out into the highway, it's a 999 report, as any other hazard in the highway would be.
Okay.
But I will send it back to the PCSO.
Chairman, before you move on, can I just say it's lovely to see Emma's cat in front of her face. It looks like Emma's got a beard on sometimes, and you look very nice with a beard, Emma.
It's so professional. I feel so embarrassed when she does it, but she's got me through lockdown, so I can't be too cruel to her.
Okay, we all happy to move on now, Emma? Item 8, financial matters and accounts.
Yeah. Hopefully you will all have seen the spreadsheet that I sent through. Did anybody have any queries on said spreadsheet?
Everyone's looking at you again, Hamish.
Yeah, that's where we normally look, Hamish, when it's financial things.
You meant to turn your microphone on, Hamish.
I think he's just saying no, but he's on mute. Hamish, you're on mute.
Yeah, stamp salary and
HMRC. Yeah, there's not a huge amount going on at the moment, so no. Which leads very nicely to item B under section 8. Salary, HMRC, and this time instead of stamps, it's a little bit more expensive. We've had the invoice through for our share of the bus shelter on Chilthorne Road, and that invoice is £2,251.50. There is no VAT in there. I presume that highways have removed the VAT element because they'll be claiming that back themselves.
Okay. Well, we just will pay it, Emma. We agreed to pay it. Everyone in agreement with that?
I think it's a good investment, that was.
Yeah, we're getting the thumbs up from everyone. Thanks, Tim.
Specifically, the lighting at the end of Main Street now, that's really good. Actually, you can see right around that bus shelter state the point. It's the lighting is much better there now.
But you might find this funny actually. When on my way home tonight, the bus pulled in there, and the lady was stood on the pavement under her umbrella, not under the bus shelter. We paid all that money for somebody to stand there with her umbrella up.
Maybe she didn't spot it.
Is that what I know it is? It's green. It's in disguise, isn't it?
Yeah, we should have gone for bright yellow or something, maybe.
Okay. No, it's just an observation I've seen tonight. That was all.
Just get the money's worth out.
Paid for it yet?
Yeah. Do we get discount for early payment?
Paul, are you around if I pop out maybe even after we finish this meeting to get some checks signed?
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you very much. And we've had no grant requests in.
Okay. Brilliant. So we move on to item 9, planning matters.
The only application has been a set of amended plans, although to be fair, I can't really see a huge amount of difference on the outline application for the land south of Tintnell Road. Brimpton Parish Council have already responded, and their response in summary says this hasn't addressed our previous concerns.
Okay.
Just for your information. Obviously, that doesn't mean that that's how you've got to go.
I don't know which way to go on that, Emma. Obviously, I personally haven't had time to look at it myself, so I'm going to have to go if anybody else has spotted anything different on there. But
We still don't want it. Full stop.
well,
There's no argument.
Sounds like the Brimpton response is about the right one. In other words, it does, it's fiddling around the edges, but doesn't actually address the major problems.
No.
I agree with you, Paul. We don't want it there. It's simple as, why would you want to build on the opposite side of the road more houses just to link up the rest of Yeovil with Chilthorne?
Exactly.
Well, do you want to send it to back up the Brimpton response with something? Or I'm happy to draft something. It'll be pretty short compared to the last time, but I'm happy to do that.
Either way, I'm quite happy to send a this doesn't address our previous concerns type response. And the Parish Council still object to the application or words to that respect.
Either, both. I'm happy with either.
If that's what you guys are happy with the response being.
Which you want to do, Kev?
Whichever you feel, do you want Tim to have a go crack at that one, Emma?
If Tim's got more time on his hands, which he possibly has at
there you go,
me at the
Tim.
moment,
Thank you
then
very
I'm
much, Tim.
more than happy for him to do that.
I'll draft up something.
Thank you very much, Tim.
Thanks, Tim.
We'll leave that one with Tim. Okay, moving swiftly on to item 10 then. Clerk's report and correspondence.
Nothing much really other than what I've sent through the odd dribs and drabs. As Tim is witness to, I get an awful lot of emails through to my inbox, none of which are much to write home about. I've had several from Plantscape that I keep trying to unsubscribe from, trying to sell us plants. I had one today from somebody trying to sell us playground equipment. The only one really of any note is one that I have already forwarded to Tim. Tim, just to check that you received that one regarding the additional request for the Climate Change Emergency Community Fund.
The additional one.
Yeah, the additional information request.
No, I've not seen that.
Okay, I'll send it through again.
Okay, because I've been watching things, although my internet was down for 3 days earlier this week.
Mine's been down again.
Nothing's arrived.
As I say, I will. There it is. There.
We've got that
I
BT.
believe I sent it to you on the 28th of January, which probably would have coincided quite nice with your internet being down.
Tim, I thought you had the best internet in the village.
Yeah, so did I, but the BT managed to do something in their green box that dropped it.
It's heading your way right now.
Cool. Okay, we okay to move on to item 11 then, Emma?
Yep, happy with that. Thank you.
Allotments then, please.
Nothing to report this month, Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Number 12, Village Hall.
Right, well, the application went in. By the sound of it, some information is now required. We also had a Village Hall Q3 meeting held, I think, on the 11th of January. I try to pull the, stunning in the lack of anything major. I passed on the questions about the school. The school is not actually using a village hall at the moment because of the impact of second lockdown and their bubble policy. The school does pay, in fact, the County Council does pay the village hall standard rates for accessing the school, so it's not on a preferential one as you were concerned about.
Brilliant.
But at the moment, they're not getting very much for the standing money they pay for it. Otherwise, there's no major issues. I reported on the Wi-Fi side and the potential improvements. They were happy to wait and see and potentially piggyback onto the revised system. If that looks like it's going to be a better solution, and given that they have no requirement for Wi-Fi at the moment, they're happy to wait a little bit longer. And I also passed on the request that had come through from somebody who was interested in renting the hall over half term, and that's been passed on to the bookings officer, but I'm not quite sure what Anne's done with it yet. And I know she was in discussion with the company, and they had sent them a draft contract. So otherwise, it's ticking over gently. I've got an email on funding, more funding support for village halls that's come in through from SALC. So I'm going to pass that on tomorrow to them as well.
Okay. Thank you, Tim. Brilliant, mate. Okay, so we move on to item 13, Recreational Trust.
I didn't pass the email on that dealt with the attaching to the sewer, because I didn't know whether I was allowed to or not. So I haven't discussed it with the committee. But if South Somerset District Council have given permission for this, for Mr. Hodder to connect to there without any maintenance agreement, that's a bad state of affairs. And also she said in the email that no other houses would want to join on. Well, we all know that at least one other house wanted to join it. And I would have thought 3 houses out of the 5 would want to join it if they could.
Yeah, I agree with you, Hamish, on that. You all know my thoughts. Okay. Item 14, and any other urgent matters?
So going back at one stage, if I may, am I at liberty to send that email on to the members of the Recreation Committee, or let them know that the District Council are going to think and give them permission with no backup?
From what I understand,
categorically, I don't know the answer to your question, Hamish, but it's not been sent to us in confidence. And obviously the Recreation Trust will notice that it's happening. So probably it's worthwhile giving them advanced warning.
The email did ask for if we had any concerns. So,
well, I certainly have concerns, because what happens if it blocks? Who pays to unblock it? And who stops other people saying, oh, they've joined the pipe, we want to join the pipe?
I will send those concerns back. Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
From the rant I had from Lynn, I'm on the subject. No, informed discussion on one side of the whole process. I'm sure that they would wish to contribute to those concerns, Emma. Perhaps through Hamish.
Yeah, I think possibly that's the best option, is that Hamish does share the information, so that the committee can feed back any further concerns.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hamish. So we go back to item 14. Any other urgent matters raised?
No. Emma, I've just seen your email. I will respond on that one.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks. Okay, item 15, and date and time of next meeting. 4th of March.
And the year trundles on.
It certainly does. I believe that concludes tonight's meeting. Thank you very much, everyone.